What's up guys, Chopper Fielder here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to get rid of those dreaded squeaks and creaks. I have a bike behind me which is absolutely riddled, probably something that you guys are familiar with if you haven't ridden your bike for a long time. So the weather's getting really good, you're probably going to want to get your bike out from the shed, it's going to be covered in rust or whatever it may be. So behind me, I'm going to be taking a look at all the problems on this bike, and Rob is going to be assisting me on how to actually do it. So one of the most common and very frustrating noises is that real high pitch squeaky chain noise, and that's probably because the chain is really dry. So we want to lubricate this chain, but before we do that we need to clean it. So to clean the chain, I'm going to be using the chain dock, which is really simple to use, and that's going to get rid of any oil, dirt or grime that is on the chain. So it's really easy to use, and as you can see it's in my left hand. We've got a trigger here and a spray button here, and we want to clamp it over the bottom part of the chain, clamp down with our trigger, push down with our spray button and pedal backwards. Even if your chain doesn't look that dirty, I can guarantee it, this chain dock will get loads of it out. Once you've finished cleaning the chain with the chain dock, we want to wipe off any excess with a microfiber cloth. So we've just finished cleaning the chain with the chain dock, and now we're ready for MO94, which will drive out any moisture and stop rust. So the next step is to lubricate your chain, and depending on the weather conditions we have dry or wet lube, and in this instance it's dry outside. I'm going to be using the dry lube. We want to start on the bottom of the chain on an angle and pedal backwards, making sure that we coat every single link. So I've just finished lubricating the chain and I can still hear some horrible noises, and that tends to be up near the brake pads. So the wheel could have a small buckle in it, so I've got Rob here, our mechanic, who's just going to straighten the wheel for us a little bit, and then I'm going to go back up to the brake and show you how to reposition each brake pad. So now Rob has finished truing up the wheel, we're going to take a look at repositioning the brake pads, and you will need an Allen key. In this case I'm going to be using a 5mm Allen key. The reason for this squeaky noise is because your brake pads are probably not in line, and as you can see here they're a bit off centre. So what I'm going to do is pull the back brake, just so then I can loosen off the brake pad itself, and we want to go anti-clockwise. Take your hand off the brake, and as you can see the brake pad's then going to become a little bit loose. Now what we want to do is line it up with the centre of the rim, and once you find that centre we want to pull the back brake, and once it's in position, going clockwise with the Allen key, just nip it up, and that should get rid of those squeaks. So now we've just repositioned the brake pads, they're in line with the rim. We need to make sure that both of the brake pads on either side of the rim are hitting at exactly the same time, and we do that by these little screws at the bottom. By one simple little turn we'll move it left or right, but just make sure that it's even on both sides of the rim. So not all bikes come with V-brakes, a lot of bikes also come with disc brakes, and if you hear this noise on your disc brake, it's normally due to contamination, so we're going to get rid of that right now. So we want to get rid of that squeakiness, and we're going to be doing that by using the disc brake cleaner, and it's very simple to use. So all we want to do is spin the wheel, we want to coat the rotor as well as the pads inside the caliper to get rid of all that contamination. Wait about 30 seconds or so for it to evaporate, and that squeakiness is gone. So another common and very frustrating sound is the knocking noise you get from your bottom bracket. And that's generally because it's dry or loose inside. So I'm going to hand this over to Rob to take the bottom bracket apart, and I am going to clean and grease it. So now the bottom bracket is out, we want to clean the thread inside the frame with some bio-degreaser. And we do that by simply spraying it in, making sure that we get rid of all that dirt, any grit inside with a microfiber cloth. So we've just finished degreasing the thread in the frame, and now we need to degrease the bottom bracket itself. So we're going to use the bio-degreaser, spray it all over the thread, get a microfiber cloth and just get rid of any dirt and grit which is stuck in the thread. So next up we have the bio-grease, which I'm going to apply to the thread of the frame. It's going to make the bottom bracket go in a lot easier, and also if you want to remove it at a later date, it's going to make it easier to come out as well, but also it helps stop corrosion. So next up we're going to use the same grease for the bottom bracket itself. Okay, so I've just done the hardest part by greasing up the bottom bracket. I'm now going to hand it over to the mechanic Rob to put everything back together. So we've just finished with the bottom bracket, and now we're going to work our way up towards the stem and headset area, because this area attracts a lot of grit and it gets inside all the seals and bearings. And when you're turning your handlebars, you'll probably hear that real gritty, rumbly noise, and it's not that nice to listen to. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen off some of these bolts, try and compress the whole lot and try and get rid of that noise. But if the noise is still there, then it's time to take it apart, clean and grease it. So what we're going to do now is preload the headset, and what that means is we want to compress the entire headset so everything runs a lot smoother. And we first start by undoing the stem bolts, which is just these bolts here. So now we've loosened off the stem, we're going to go to the stem cap, which is at the top, normally with a 5mm Allen key, and we're going to simply tighten it. And what that's going to do is bring everything together and make everything smoother. And what you'll notice is that you'll probably get rid of that rocking noise. But if you still hear that grit inside, then it's time to remove the entire unit and clean and grease it. So what we're going to do now is take everything apart, lay everything out in order it's come out, and then we're going to degrease it, grease it up, put it back in, compress everything together and get rid of those horrible noises. So we've just removed everything from the headset. Make sure that you lay it out in order it comes out as well, because it's really important for when we put it back in. So we're going to go through every individual component and we're going to degrease it. Right, so we've just finished cleaning and degreasing all the bearings inside the headset, and now we're going to go back to this steer tube, which is this piece here, and we're going to degrease all this area here, as well as the cups in the frame as well. So we've just cleaned and degreased the steer tube and the cups inside the frame, and now we're ready for a re-grease. We're going to be using this bio-grease, and we're going to put a healthy amount on both cups, down the bottom here, on the forks, as well as in the cups. And this will enable the headset to run nice and smooth. So now the headset is all greased up, it's all been put back together. This is what a loose headset would look like. So what we need to do is come to the top of the stem cap with an Allen key and simply tighten it up until everything compresses. So now the stem cap is nice and tight, all we need to do now is simply tighten up the stem itself. So now all those noises have gone. What I like to do is give my bike a once over with MO94, and what this does is help disperse any water that's still currently on the bike, but also helps prevent any corrosion. So when it comes to repairing your bike again, it makes things a lot easier. There are going to be certain parts of the bike that if you don't feel confident enough or have the correct tools for, go to your local bike shop or go onto our website and look for the store locator. Okay guys, so that is it. Your bike's nice and sweet and rides the dream.